Do you support and appreciate Mr. Doyle?
No.
Now give us the real answer, Tyler.
No.
Now give us the truth, Tyler.
Nah. Yes, I do. What a articulate, wonderful type of man he is. He's a very smart man, and I see a lot of future in him. Well, a lot of future that he portrayed in his students, you know?
Yeah, I feel like everyone in the comm center likes Mr. Doyle, right, Taz? Do you like Mr. Doyle?
Wonderful. He's a wonderful man. A wonderful, smart, funny, caring type of man.
And actually, Mr. Doyle cares a lot about his students. And did you know at this school we have a really large LGBTQ plus community?
Yes, I do. I see, yes.
And I know Doyle saw that community wasn't really represented in any club. And him and I believe Mrs. Knobloch started a gay-straight alliance.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. And I'm pretty sure they just had their first meeting. And I'm pretty sure we did an interview about it. So I think that's an important thing to watch.
Yes, it is.
So we should go check out that interview.
Hello, my name is Diamond Lochetto. You're watching The Eagle's Eye. I'm here with Mr. Doyle to talk about the Gay Straight Alliance Club. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, Diamond. How are you?
I'm good. So what is the Gay Straight Alliance Club?
So the Gay Straight Alliance is a club that we have at Norristown High School where we allow students who are LGBTQ to meet with students who aren't, certainly, but to have an opportunity to have a space where we can have conversations about what it means to be LGBTQ, to give support, and to give advice.
Okay. And so when is the meeting?
So our meetings are going to be every other Wednesday, the first and third Wednesday of the month, right after school in room 347.
Okay. And who should come? Who should come to this meeting?
So that's a great question. For sure, we'd really be interested in students who are LGBTQ to come. So we have actually a decent number of gay, lesbian students at the school. We have trans students. We're hoping that all of those students will try and make an effort to come to meetings. But we're also interested in students that aren't gay, who are straight, who are interested in learning about or discovering about how to relate to or what the experience is like to be LGBTQ.
Okay. And what inspired you guys to try out this club?
So Ms. Knobloch and I brought this club back. This is not its first incarnation. It existed for several years with the advisors of Mr. Spears and Ms. Shaw, the guidance counselor. And the club sort of began to fade over the past 2 years. And Ms. Knobloch and I noticed that during those 2 years, we were also increasing in the number of gay and lesbian students who were visibly identifying in the building. And that seemed strange to us. Then last year there was an incident or two, particularly where there was some institutional confusion around how to deal with a student who was trans in particular, but with some gay students. And Ms. Knobloch, at the beginning of the year, we were doing an interview with her about the new vaccination policy. And at the end of that, she said, I'd really like to try and figure a way for us to help these students. And I said, I'm really interested in getting this club up and running. And so we decided to do that. And I'll be honest with you, working with the nurse means that I know that we have more than just some guy who cares about the issue there. And so I really felt safe and secure in instituting it again. At the same time, there were other students who were asking about it. I know that Principal Roth has had 3 separate students, one being Jerome Campbell, who's behind camera right now, who submitted proposals about getting the club back. So it seemed like the right time to try and reinitiate that club.
Okay. And what activities are you guys planning on doing?
And that's really interesting. We had a meeting with Principal Roth, Ms. Knobloch and I, because we wanted to find out if there were any parameters we weren't to do or anything sort of to be conscious about. And he really asked us to focus on making the club effective and engaging for the students. And so to do that, we're going to look at a couple things. Activities are weird to me to some extent because I'm not as interested about the club like running a dance, you know? But I think that what we're going to see is on the Wednesdays, we'll have conversations in group. We'll bring in guest speakers who are trans or gay or work with organizations that are dealing with those issues, to talk to kids. But I think we'll also try and work on some ways to make more awareness and more understanding in the broader community. And that may mean poster campaigns, it may mean commercials in the TV studio, it may mean activities where we bring in a guest lecturer or something like that for the school.
Okay. And is there any support outside of school?
Yeah, so there's a variety, I would say there's a variety of organizations in Philadelphia, and there's some out here in the suburbs that are very supportive, and we intend on engaging with them. A few years back, I produced a play about a gangster in the 1920s in Philadelphia, true story, who was a woman who posed as a man for this and rose to the head of Philadelphia's gangster community.
Yeah.
And during that time, I made a pile of connections with LGBTQ organizations in Philly. So I know people down there who'd be very willing to come and speak, or who'll be willing to offer us other supports, so documentation, paperwork, things like that, that we'll be able to use to help the students.
Okay. And do you have any LGBT friends or family?
So, so when I'm not here, I'm a theater producer, right?
Yeah.
Which means my life is awash with people who are gay and lesbian, and that's not to characterize anything about the theater community except to say that it is a safe place for people who have gender thoughts. But my brother was my sister when she went to Norristown High School 30 years ago. So Ben, who was Beth then, is trans and has gone through transition and has hormones to make that transition happen, and is married to a lovely woman, and they have 3 kids, and one of them is non-binary. So I work with pronouns all the time, and I deal with that in my regular life. So I'm wildly supportive of that. So Ben, when Ben was Beth, we dealt with gay issues, and now as the trans issue comes, we're dealing with the T in LGBT. So we're really in a process of that in my family and with friends.
Okay, that's good. And have you, how has that really affected your life to start the club? Like,
yeah, well, back when the club was under Spears and Shaw's tutelage, my brother came in and talked to the group. I care a lot about the issue, especially because understanding is wildly important. I also end up, to some extent, in the comm center because of the experience and my openness, have been dealing with LGBTQ students in the school, and I think that there is so much confusion about what all that means. Just the idea of the difference between gender identification and gender orientation, or gender and sex, people are so confused about what people are talking about in the real world today. And so I'm inspired by the fact that when my father passed away, we had to stand in a line behind the coffin, right? And my brother was there. And people from Norristown had to come and for the first time discover that Beth was now Ben, and they thought my dad had another boy and that Beth was still in California. And we ended up educating person after person. And so these encounters in real life, working with Rami, who is non-binary, my niece, and working with gay and lesbian actors all the time, I know that this is a group of people who are rising to prominence and who deserve respect and connection. And so we want to do a club that helps these kids who are here today feel comfortable and supported. So all of those personal things are affecting it.
Okay. And have you done any other LGBT activism?
So last year, we did a series of pieces that were inspired by Thaddeus PA. So, and we were concerned last year very much about African American representation in the building. We only had 7 African American teachers at the time, and so we did a piece called "Am I Next?", which Thaddeus sort of designed, and then we worked through it. The first one we did was about African Americans. The second one we did was about LGBTQ. So we did this presentation. I've also supported students in the building who are dealing with trans issues. And then, as I say, I've done plays that have focused on issues of gay and lesbian
It's great.
rights.
It's good. And so when should kids come to this?
So we have a meeting on Wednesday the 4th, but we're going to meet as first and third Wednesday of every month in room 347. If students have questions, they can visit the nurse to ask those questions, or they can go to me here in the comm center. And eventually we'll know who the leadership of that organization is, and we'll probably have some kind of council of leadership as opposed to a single individual. And then those students' names will come out and people can find out about that too. And if they really want to know when the meetings are, the cafeteria TVs are broadcasting that, and they can watch the Eagle's Eye and find out more information.
Okay, that's great. So is there anything else for you to add?
No, you've been lovely, and thank you for the time. I just want to say again that Ms. Knobloch is co-advising this.
Okay.
And in many ways, although right now I'm sort of a face of where this is coming, this is really going to be a student organization with people who are advising, and Knobloch's sort of both compassion and her thoughtfulness about the issue help us see that, with a man and a woman running the club, we're trying to sort of balance things out across the board, and she's spectacular.
Okay. Thank you for talking to us about the Gay Alliance Straight Club. Sounds very interesting, and hopefully people go out and start to talk about that and be comfortable.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. You're watching The Eagle's Eye. Back to the hosts.